What is up, Minties? This is the Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition. And today, join me as I do the comprehensive reading order of Daredevil. So please stay tuned. Okay, now before we get started, I do want to thank our patrons for voting for Daredevil. Every month on our Patreon, we put up a poll as to what reading order I can do next, and they voted for Daredevil, the man without fear. Now, before we get this started, I am just focusing on Daredevil. I'm not going to be focusing on any limited series like Daredevil Yellow or End of Days unless it's collected in a collection that I'm already talking about, such as the case with the Frank Miller Companion. So, let's get this started. So here we have Daredevil Epic Collection Volume 1. This is The Man Without Fear, collecting issues 1 through 21. This is the one that kicked it all off. It has the origin story featuring the talents of Stan Lee, Wally Wood, Dennis O'Neil, John Romita, and Gene Colan. It also features the first appearance of some of his supporting cast members like Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, Leland Owsley, who will become the Owl, and Melvin Potter, who is the Gladiator. And if you're familiar with TV series from Netflix, those characters have appeared. And I'm always impressed by how much talent there was in this first volume. Sorry, I'm going to try to make this quick, but I just wanted to point out, we have Wally Wood. That is amazing. And then Bobby Powell finishing his stuff. We have the first appearance of the Purple Man, who was a big character in the first season of Jessica Jones. Of course, that was all played by David Tennant. Okay, let's keep moving. Next up is Volume 2 of the Epic Collection. This is the way that I've decided to collect them, and I'll talk about the omnibus here in a second. This volume is called Mike Murdock Must Die, collecting Daredevil 22 through 41, Annual Number 1, Fantastic 473, and then material from Nod Brand Ech Number 4. This is now Stan Lee and Gene Colan's taking over the entire book. You have the Stilt Man, and this is a weird one because this is where Matt Murdock juggles his triple identity. Not only is he Daredevil and Matt Murdock, but he also pretends to be his own twin brother, Mike Murdock, to fool his friends. And then Foggy's all jealous of Mike Murdock because he's Daredevil. Anyway, it was a pretty interesting twist, to say the least. And here is Volume 3 with the Stilt Man on the cover. Again, this is an Epic Collection. This one's called Brother Take My Hand. Now, I will say the first two epics, 1 through 41 and Annual Number 1, as well as Fantastic 473 and then Not Brand Ech 4, both of those are also found in the Omnibus. So Daredevil Omnibus Volume 1 has all that stuff. But I choose to collect them in Epic format. So this particular volume here of Daredevil collects issues 42 to 63. This is the Roy Thomas, Barry Windsor Smith is now joining in the fun. And this is where Matt Murdock is caught in a love triangle with his best friend, Foggy Nelson, and their secretary, Karen Page. There seems to be that going on back then in the Silver Age, a lot of. And by now he is in and out of a relationship with Karen Page. And here is also, we also have Gene Colan again on artwork. Now we have Daredevil Epic Collection Volume 4. The epics are the way that I love collecting these, by the way. So this is A Woman Called Widow. Spoilers, this has the first appearance of Black Widow. It's the return of Gladiator, collecting Daredevil 64 through 86, Iron Man 35 through 36, and that is the crossover event. This is where Daredevil moves out to California to chase Karen Page. By now, Conway, this is Jerry Conway running the main stories here, is throwing in some twist. And then by the end of the book, we have Black Widow showing up for the first time, and then just like that, starting a quick relationship with Matt Murdock that will be shown in the movies and the TV series and ongoing comics for years to come. For the main part, it is Gene Colan back on artwork with Don Heck and also Barry Windsor Smith. Now, as far as the Silver Age, this was the last epic that they have released so far, but more are coming. The next book is Daredevil 105, found in the pages of this omnibus, Thanos Infinity Origin. Next up, we have this beautiful omnibus. This is Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. This is the game changer here for everything that happened to Daredevil. Frank Miller is about to change everything you knew about him in the way that storytelling is done. This is his very first fight with the Kingpin, his fight with Bullseye. The epic showdown with Elektra, the first appearance of Elektra, and then Oh my god. If you have not read this, do yourself a favor. It is a wonderful read. Anyway, this particular omnibus, and these are collected in complete collections and trade paperbacks, by the way, collects Daredevil 158 through 161, skipping 162, 163 to 191, and What If 28. 162 is neither drawn or written by Miller, so that one's written by Michael Fleischer and drawn by Steve Ditko. And I think the only place that's collected in is the Marvel Visionary Steve Ditko. So next up is Secret Wars Volume 2, only collecting issue 233 of Daredevil, because it's part of this huge crossover event. And that takes us to the Daredevil by Frank Miller companion. Remember when I said I wasn't going to talk about miniseries, but Man Without Fear is in here. Man Without Fear is pretty much the screenplay that he wrote for the Daredevil movie that never got made. But anyway, Born Again is in here. So this particular volume collects Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man 27 and 28, Daredevil 219, 226 through 233, Daredevil The Man Without Fear, the miniseries 1 through 5, Marvel Graphic Novel 24, Daredevil Love and War, which is back here. And I'm also not going to be talking about Elektra, just Daredevil. So keep that in mind. Here is The Man Without Fear. Really enjoyed John Romita Jr.'s artwork during this time. I think this is where he perfected. I think he draws my favorite Kingpin. Okay, moving on. Now we move on to Love's Labor's Lost. This is a pretty interesting collection, mainly because it's an old trade paperback that I have. Anyway, this collects Daredevil 215 through 217, 220 to 222, and then 226. It does double dip some, but there's some stuff in here that hasn't been collected anywhere else. Now, issue 238 can be found in the Mutant Massacre Omnibus, and then issue 252 can be found in the Fall of the Mutants oversized hardcover. Taking us back to the Epic line. This is volume 13, A Touch of Typhoid. And if you know, I've done a video on the channel about Epics on how they're released. It's sometimes they release them from the Silver Age, sometimes they release them like towards the end of the character's run. They don't release them in chronological order. So this is Ann Nocenti's run, or Ann Nocenti. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that lovely lady's name. So she is joined by John Romita Jr. on this. This collects issues 253 to 270 of Daredevil and introduces us to this character of Typhoid Mary, who is on the cover, who is one of the most underused characters in comic books to this day, I think. It's kind of hard to get her character right. She has a split personality, so when she is evil and trying to kill Daredevil, she is known as Typhoid Mary. Her and Elektra, I swear, they're wonderful characters. Moving on to Heart of Darkness, volume 14 of the Epic Collection. More of the Nocenti stuff, so collecting Daredevil 271 to 282, Annual 5 and 6, material from Punisher Annual number 3, Incredible Hulk Annual number 16, and Silver Surfer Annual number 3. I think those are the Lifeform crossover events. So the story here in this epic has to go down as probably one of the most oddest character developments for Daredevil. Don't get me wrong, like I said, Ann Nocenti is one of those people, for some reason, a lot of people either hate her Daredevil run or a lot of people really love it. Honestly, I'm somewhere in the middle. I kind of like a lot of her stuff, and then some stuff I thought was kind of odd, but that's just me. And I think it's a good mix when the writer, Ann Nocenti in this case, takes the material so morbidly serious, but then the content is so obviously goofy. It makes for such a great read. I think that's probably the best way I can describe her run on Daredevil. Now, issues 275 and 276 are over here in the Acts of Vengeance crossover omnibus, and taking us to the Daredevil Fall of the Kingpin trade paperback. This is one of my favorite stories, written by D.G. Chichester, and it's drawn by Lee Weeks. I just said Chichester like I actually know how to pronounce his name. I love this storyline. This is kind of a follow-up to Born Again, and this trade paperback only collects issues 297 to 300. However, there is an epic, volume number 15, that's been solicited. It collects issues 283 to 300, and then annual number 7. So you'll want to upgrade to that one in case you have this. Okay, taking us to the next epic collection. This is Daredevil Fall from Grace. Previously collected in the Fall from Grace trade paperback, but this has a lot more. in case you are keeping tabs. And in case of keeping tabs, you notice that Daredevil originally changed his costume from the yellow and red to the red costume in issue number 9. And then in 320, he finally gets this black and red costume. Like, he went on 30 years without changing his costume, and I love this artwork here by Scott McDaniel, who went on to do Nightwing after this, but man, love that dude's artwork. Alright, let's keep moving. Moving on to Root of Evil. Speaking of costumes, he didn't last very long in that black and red costume. Over here we have Root of Evil, and this collects issues 333 to 344. And then Elektra, Root of Evil, drawn by Scott McDaniel. Now, this was a follow-up to Fall from Grace, but it's collected in here. I was hoping that they would do that since it wasn't collected in the Fall from Grace Epic collection, so it's nice to have it here. I will say that this is one of the few Epic collections that a lot of people complain about, including myself when it first came out. This is done by the Quad Group, so it's really flimsy on the cover. The pages aren't as good quality as the other Epic collections. Just in case you're wondering why it feels so different, or in case this is your first Epic, do not judge all the Epics on this. This is wonderful artwork here by Scott McDaniels. Love that dude. Alright, taking us to volume 20 of the Epic collections, Purgatory and Paradise. By now we have J.M. DeMatteis writing it, Lee Weeks is drawing some of this stuff, Ron Wagner's drawing it, Carrie Nord. So there's a lot of changes happening in the world of Daredevil and Matt Murdock. And this is what some of the artwork looks like. But anyway, this particular volume collects Daredevil 345 to 364, uninterrupted. So we've had a pretty good chunk, leading us to the final volume of the Epic collections. And that is Widow's Kiss. Now, Widow's Kiss is the final volume because, like I said, with Epic collections, they stop at the first volume, at volume 1, and this is the end of Daredevil volume 1. And it will continue, and it gets renumbered, but as far as Marvel and myself and everyone else is concerned, this is the end of the volume 1 series. So now you have Scott Lobdell, Joe Kelly writing Daredevil. It's a pretty mixed bag of different creators. Bernard Chang on artwork, but this final volume collects issues 365 to 380. Also has the -1 issue in the Daredevil Deadpool Annual 97, where Deadpool becomes infatuated with death. So, like I said, Gene Colan comes back to draw Daredevil again. I forgot about that. There we go. The final epic. Now, let's move on. Okay, and this book right here kicks off the Marvel Knight saga of Daredevil. So this would be Daredevil Volume 2. It's the same continuing story. Nothing's been retcon, or there hasn't been a revamp of the universe or anything like that. It's just that Marvel decided to renumber it. And this was a big deal because this was Kevin Smith coming in from the movies to script Daredevil, and joined by Joe Quesada. And it relaunched the numbering system. So this collects Daredevil 1 through 15, and then the half issue. This has been collected in trade paperback. There is an omnibus that also collects Daredevil Father, the miniseries, and that's just called Marvel Knights Omnibus. I don't think it even has Daredevil on the title. Which takes us to the Brian Michael Bendis arc. This is collected in hardcovers. It's collected in trade paperbacks. It's collected in omnibus. Two of them, actually. Two omnis. And they've been out of print for a long time, but coming in January and in February, they are going to be reprinted. So I've done an advanced look at the reprint of Volume 1. I'll be doing an advanced look at the reprint of Volume 2 in the upcoming weeks. But this was a big game changer for the character. I know that some of you all know how I feel about Bendis, most of his writing, but I can't deny the fact that this changed the character of Matt Murdock and what he was able to do and deconstruct the character and just build him up with almost like a realistic take on these villains. But anyway, this particular volume right here collects Daredevil Volume 2, 16 through 19, 26 through 50, and 56 through 60. Which, thanks to some of you minties out there for letting me know about this book, because what I had before was the Daredevil Echo Vision by David Mack, and that trade paperback is collected in here. So this is the next one. This is in between Daredevil Omnibus Volume 1 by Bendis and Volume 2. This collects Daredevil Ninja 1 through 3, which was written by Bendis. Daredevil Spider-Man 1 through 4, Daredevil 20 through 25. This plugs in those missing orphaned issues. 51 through 55, and Spider-Man Daredevil number 1. And that is collected in here in the Marvel Knights Daredevil Unusual Suspects. And again, thanks to you, Minties, for letting me know about this book. Taking us to Volume 2 of Daredevil by Brian Michael Bendis. This collects issues 61 through 81. Ultimate Marvel Team Up, even though it's not in continuity, it's collected in here. Issues 6 through 8. And What If Karen Page Had Lived, issue number 1. Again, this is being reprinted, and it's the final issues of Daredevil. It doesn't collect Ninja or End of Days, which a lot of people were hoping that the reprint would have. Now we have Daredevil by Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark. By the way, I do want to stop right here and remind you all to hit that like button, subscribe button if you haven't subscribed, notifications button to let you know when our videos are going up. And leave those comments down below. Again, thank you to our patrons for voting for Daredevil. This was a fun reread. Where was I? Oh yes, Daredevil by Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark Omnibus, also collected in trade paperbacks. This collects issues 82 through 105, and it has had 2 printings. So, I don't know if the reprint is low in stock, but I have heard that Volume 1 is out of print again. I'm not sure, so you may want to check into that in case you are collecting these in oversized format only. And here is Volume 2, collecting the remaining of the run. And something's about to happen in this that I was talking about earlier. So this collects Daredevil Volume 2 again, 106 to 119, and issue 500. So it goes back to the original numbering system of Daredevil Volume 1. So it goes back to issue 500. It is Ed Brubaker, Michael Lark. It's wonderful. It's some of the best Daredevil, in my opinion. When I do these comprehensive reading orders, I don't like to say which one my favorites are, but every once in a while I can't help but talk about how wonderful these books were. I know everybody praises Bendis, but Brubaker's to me is up there just as much as Bendis is. And here is one that I know some people don't like and some people can't stand, but I'm actually in the middle. I think some of this was really good, and that is Daredevil Shadowland. This comes with 2 covers. This is the Andy Diggle run right after Ed Brubaker. So this collects a lot of things. This collects his entire run, including the crossover events of Shadowland. So this collects Dark Reign, The List, Daredevil. Daredevil, again, back to the original numbering system, 501 to 512. Shadowland 1 through 5. Shadowland, Elektra, Bullseye, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man After the Fall. Moon Knight 1 through 3. Shadowland, Blood on the Streets 1 through 4. Daughters of the Dragon 1 through 3, Power Man 1 through 4, Thunderbolts 148 through 149. I forgot even the Thunderbolts made it in here. Speaking of Thunderbolts, there they are, right there. And then the follow-up series to that is Daredevil Reborn issues 1 through 4, all in here. Actually, before I close this, I do want to say that I do want to give a shout out to my buddy Peter M. and my buddy Tim. Peter M. runs a website called Crushing Crisis. The guy is a walking encyclopedia of Marvel Comics knowledge. And then Tim runs a blog called Nerd in the Nook. And he is a huge fan of Daredevil. And we've talked about Daredevils in the past. Anyway, just wanted to give them a quick shout out in case you have not checked out their websites. And the next set of books I'm going to be talking about, there's 5 of these oversized hardcovers. This is all the Mark Waid run. He's joined by Chris Samney. He is also joined by, actually, Greg Rucka. Yeah, this is the crossover event. And Marcos Martin. Let's look at a little bit in here and talk about it. The reason I was just showing a little bit of this off is because this stuff is collected in omnibus format. So there are 2 omnis of this entire run, or you can get them in these 5 oversized formats. But his entire run this is, like I said, Mark Waid, collects Daredevil renumbering again. So this is volume 3 of Daredevil. I almost said DD, not as cool. The first omnibus, I think, collects issues 1 through 27, 10.1, Amazing Spider-Man 677, Avenging Spider-Man number 6, and Punisher number 10. That was that crossover event. Let me show you a little bit of the artwork from the later series as I talk about Omnibus Volume 2. So it's the same height as these, that's why I haven't gotten it yet, and I'm probably going to. Who am I kidding? I'm an omnibus sucker. So the second omnibus collects Daredevil Volume 3 again, issues 28 through 36, Indestructible Hulk crossover event, 9 through 10, and the new series, so the fourth volume, 1 through 18, 1.5, 0.1, and 15.1. I know that gets confusing because of the numbering system. Now that finishes out the Mark Waid run, and after that comes the 8 volumes of Charles Soule, which I'm hoping they'll do complete collections or oversized hardcovers. And then so far there's 2 volumes of this Chip Zdarsky stuff, which is really damn good, by the way. And that was the reading order. Remember that you can purchase these books from cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Cheap Graphic Novels Black Friday sale is continuing all through December, so there's still time to save up to 95% off thousands of books. Additional books will be added throughout the month, so be sure to check back often and stay tuned to CGN on social media to be the first to know when the new books have been added to the sale. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. Let me know in the comments down below if I left any of the books out, or if there was something that you have questions about. Please leave those comments below, because you know I love replying to them. Again, thank you to our patrons for voting for this. Next month's poll is up already, so let's find out what we're doing in January. And if you want to join our Patreon to vote for polls much like these, the information is in the description down below. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint.